Good afternoon, DockHound fans. Hopefully, you're able to brave the storm last night here in Lake Country. It's just getting us all even more ready for baseball season here in Oconomowoc at DockHounds Ballpark. And thanks for tuning in to another DockHounds Insider. I'm Dominic Stern, joined by Tom Kelnick, our managing partner and owner, our head skipper on the team, our manager, Ken Huckabee. And this week, we are thrilled to be joined by Paul Wagner, our pitching coach. Wags wasn't able to join us 2 weeks ago when we also sat down with our bench coach, Travis Akery. Wags, we're happy to have you. How's your offseason been?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's going well. It's going pretty good. We're obviously numbers and players and acquisitions and signings and stuff like that on the baseball side is going fine. I think we're pretty much up to date. Huck and Tom keep me posted pretty much and going over things. So I know player personnel moves pretty much as best as I can. And then as far as my regular, we got a lot of hunting. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of prep around here. Obviously, I have a podcast. It's called Flipping Sticks, Throwing Lead. It's an outdoors sponsored by the DNR, Wisconsin DNR. We do a lot with everything from conservation to everything from hunting, fielding, fishing, camping, you name it, we do it. And it's been keeping me pretty busy. So staying alive on the podcasts and getting ready for turkey season coming up.
I was about to say it's opening day. You got the headpiece above you. I know Tom has a couple in his office. Opening day with the storm. Did that get to you?
It did. It did. I think it moved the birds around. You sent me a question. I knew you were a California/Arizona kid when you asked me hunting. What are you hunting? Or some type of weird question that I thought everybody knew. It is turkey season here, and the birds roost in the trees. So when the winds come, the tornadoes come, the rain comes, it kind of mixes up the birds a little bit. So we had some action today. Today was opening day. The 15th tax day is turkey season #1 opening day. So yeah, birds are moving around and it's pretty exciting.
How do turkeys roost in a tree when they can't fly?
They can jump. They jump. They have a vertical.
Do you and Tom have to get
Hey, Dom, Huck went out turkey hunting last year.
Did he?
He said-
So he should know this.
It was his best 5-hour nap. Tell me about it, Huck.
We walked about a half a mile out on the property. Tom and I sat kind of back to back for 5 hours. Tom made some weird noises every 20 minutes. Didn't see anything. Got up, walked back to the truck, and got in. He didn't even let me shoot the gun once. Just got up, she went and sat in the truck, and then went home. Yeah, 5 hours. Watch the sunrise with Tom. If that's romantic, I guess that's romantic.
There are worse ways to spend the morning.
It's okay.
It's pretty evident for those who are tuning in that these three have developed a strong relationship on and off the field, or I guess, at the ballpark and away from the ballpark. Could you all speak to that and how important it is for setting up this team to come and play for these fans in Lake Country, and how that's able to get the best out of those players and deliver the best experience for our fans?
I'll let you start. No, I'm going to let you, Huck.
I think it's important because in the way it happened is just the initial meeting with Tom and I, Wags and I, kind of being ex-players. It's kind of like an unwritten rule that the trust is automatically implied with each other. And then, I'm not going to lie, when I first came in, coming from affiliate, Wags was a little green when it came to on-field coaching a little bit. He knew what he was doing as far as with the pitching and all that kind of stuff. But with how to interact with the players, he still had a player's mentality a little bit. So Wags was really open-minded, and we sat and we talked in my office for a long time about how to connect to players and how to relate to players, and gave him some techniques. I gave you some stuff, didn't I, Wags, that
Yep.
I had gotten that I had learned a lot from over the years. And then when it comes to Tom, it's not a hard balancing act, but it's a friendship / employer-employee relationship. And it's just walking that line that, Tom gets my ultimate respect because he is the guy in charge. But at the same time, we both are human beings. We're the same age. We have similar likes and dislikes, and we have similar personalities. And I think Tom and I balance each other out. Tom is a certain personality, a certain way, and I have that same personality to an extent, but I also have a more glass half full side, like Tom likes to say. And I think that balances Tom out a little bit when he starts getting a little bit towards the edge when he wants to explode. I feel like I have the ability to calm him down a little bit, and we navigate our way through a lot of stuff that way.
Paul, Tom, do you want to add on to that?
Well, I've known Wags for a long time, and being a baseball player, not to these guys' level, but respect, where they came from and how they got there, and we do have a lot of things in common, and it's definitely a friendship relationship. It's gotten to be because I think we all have the same feel, right? You can get analytics involved or you can get personalities involved, but I think all three of us are able to take little bits and pieces, not be all in one lane, and probably come up pretty close to, we know what the other guy's going to say before he says it, but the relationship we have, we need to hear it. I need to hear it from both of them before any decision that I would make. So, yeah, I can't ask for a better situation. I've had them where they're not so strong. And again, winning and losing isn't everything. What people don't know is really what goes on, off the field, whether it's in the clubhouse, on the road, in the bus, in their host families, right? And so those are still decisions that I go to these guys and be like, hey, this is what I heard. What are we thinking? What are we going to do? And I respect their opinion. And I know both of them look out for the organization more than they look out for themselves. So as an owner, that feels really good. So.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that Huck does, Huck is one of those guys where me and Tom are reactionary. I don't think Huck counts to three, 1, 2, 3, and kind of knows what's right and what's wrong. Where I think maybe I shouldn't speak for Tom, but for me, early on, it was me just reacting. And Huck would look at me and go, you know what? You're not a player anymore. You've got to realize situations. You've got to think about the future. You don't have to worry about right now. You have to worry about what's coming ahead of us. And that's the hardest part for me because as a player, it was right then and there. I didn't care about yesterday. I don't care about tomorrow. I care about today. And you can't think like that. And I think Huck is trying and getting that into me. He's trying to get that into me and say, hey, we have a 100-game season. Paul, you can't just react. And it takes time as a player and the blood flowing and the competitiveness that we all have. But Huck moving into the organization affiliated and being a coordinator and stuff like that, he's learned how to do that. Where I think I'm still learning, and it is a tough call because when you get heated up, you want to react. I'm a player. I was a player. I didn't go into that gradual coaching stage and learned how to be on the other side of the fence. I always played on the side of the white lines where the bump was there and the lights were bright. And it's getting to me. I'm learning. I'm actually learning how to do it. And I learn every day. And someone says, well, you've been there for 4 years or 3 years with Huck. And you learn every day. You learn every day. And if someone ever tells you that they know everything, they're wrong. And once you think you know everything, then you're really wrong. And then you're really going to hurt yourself. So I keep an open mind. Huck knows that. He sees it. He helps me pretty much every day. For 3 years, I learn things every day because he's bringing me back into that where it is a tough pill to swallow when you played, you're competitive, and you react. And now you have to actually, control yourself.
That's great stuff. And before we move off this topic, I have one more question for Huck about that because we've talked about his experience in affiliate. How different is the collaboration you have with Tom and Paul here in an MLB partner league as opposed to what you had while you were coaching in the Toronto Blue Jays organization where there's affiliate in it? I don't want to say there's more structure, but there's a ladder and a hierarchy.
It's different, but it's the same. And what I mean by that is we still go over the same things that we go over in affiliate ball. We still talk about the same things. We still discuss the same things, except for there's just not as many people to discuss it with. So what I can get done with 2 or 3 text messages with Tom Wags and Travis and Jack would take me 30 text messages and 5 emails to get done in an organization. And that's why I truly love where I am at this point in my career. I love where I am because of that fact. It's so liberating that, Tom holds me in check when it comes to some things with the player performances, and the knock on me that I'm trying to beat is my philosophy has always been that if we sign someone as an organization, I need to give that guy ample opportunity to prove he doesn't belong here. That's the affiliate side of me. But at the end of the day, independent ball in a partner league is a little more cutthroat than that. And that's Tom's, like, this guy's not doing it. I'm paying him this much. He needs to get out of here, and we need to get someone else in. Whereas I'm trying to hold on to a guy to see if he can produce what we saw in him when we first signed him. So that decision would be made out of my hands if I was an affiliate ball. That decision would come from 15 people above me just calling me and saying, let Paul Wagner go. He's not doing it. We're sending you up this kid to take his place. And I like Tom and I being able to work out those kind of hard decisions together.
For sure. Thanks for that insight. Let's talk about some of the players that we've added within the last 2 weeks since we talked. We talked about Brody Rodning because he re-signed that day. So a lot of returning pitchers on the pitching staff. But we mentioned during that show that they were still on the hunt for a new catcher. And you may have found one, Ryan Lee. He was at Tennessee Tech. He joins Matt Nelson. They seem to be the 2 catchers who are going to be on the opening day roster this upcoming season. Ryan will be his first taste of professional baseball. So for Ken Huckabee, as a former MLB catcher and the catching coordinator with the Toronto Blue Jays, what did you see in Ryan that made you want to bring him into the organization?
We just saw potential. He's been working out with guys that throw and have the velocity of pitchers that we have on our team, and he's handled himself. We got good reports from people that threw to him, and we needed a backup for Matt. And it's a good opportunity to bring in someone young, almost like we did with Trip Clark last year, just to see if he can handle the defensive side of the field. And like Trip last year could definitely handle the offensive side. I think it was the defensive side that we had the problem with our pitching staff. Wags can attest to that. And we're hoping that we can bring Ryan along from the defensive side first, and he can contribute for us on our defensive side, because that's where, ultimately we're going to win our championship is with our pitching, and we need good backstops to accomplish that.
Yes, Paul, can you elaborate on how important these catchers are to supplementing the staff and making sure that you get the best out of them?
You know what? I'm gonna say this, and I've been a pitcher or a thrower for many years. Pitchers are dumb. Pitchers are dumb. We need good catchers. We need catchers. Catchers need to lead us. There's a few pitchers out there, even at the big league level, that can do their own stuff. But the majority of them, and Huck can probably tell you a handful that are very, very successful pitchers in the game that he caught, that rely heavily on the catcher. I learned from a long time ago from good managers and good catchers that when push comes to shove, you listen to your catcher. And if a catcher has that view, that idea, he sees everything. He's like the quarterback. He's the guy in the back corner. I think he knows the game better than anybody. And that's why I think you see that most of your Major League Baseball managers in the big leagues right now have catching backgrounds. At least a majority of them were catchers, whether they were in the minor leagues as catchers or even at the big league level catching. The catcher knows everything. And I think as a pitcher, you have to follow and you have to trust. If you do not trust your catcher and you don't believe in it, and that's the kind of a situation that Huck touched on last year with a certain individual. The guys didn't have that feeling and that connection. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse for not to produce and to do well. It's just a piece of the puzzle that just didn't fit. If you're not comfortable on that mound and you don't have full support, or you don't feel that catcher supports you fully, It's a tough gig when you're standing out there all by yourself holding that ball. If you don't feel like that catcher's on your side, hell, that's an island you don't want to be on.
And see, that's one of those things that Tom doesn't see in the press box that he was talking about, that he relies on me and Wags for, is information like that. Because like with the player that we talked about, offensively, he was really, really good. And that's what Tom sees. That offensively, he wants him in the lineup, but on the deeper side of it, he just wasn't able to carry our pitching staff.
And for Tom, the opportunity to bring in a young catcher, a young player, you're the father of a couple of baseball players, one at the professional level, one in JT, who's hopefully going to get there once he's done with his college level. How neat is it for you to be able to give the opportunity to someone else for the first time to play professional baseball?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, again, no better boss than to have Huck there to help him and groom him the way that it should be done and done the right way. And again, a younger kid, we're not looking for him to come in and hit home runs and carry the team. I think we typically start off with the bare basics, and we're definitely going to have to give Nelson a breather here and there. And if this kid can shine and help the pitchers out and be a good backstop, maybe we hit a diamond in the rough, and maybe we're able to push him to affiliate, or maybe he sticks around for a couple of years, and he would be a great resource for us, because it's really hard to get quality catchers at this level, as the majority of them are in affiliate. So we're all crossing our fingers for him.
That's Ryan Lee. You'll get to see him play at DockHounds Ballpark coming up soon. We're a month away from opening day. If you have not gotten your tickets, make sure to call our ticket office, get everything situated. You can also check out more of our information at DockHounds.com. Maybe I'll be the one who helps you out with that as well. Another new position player signing, Jack Blomgren. Know that Tom and Huck discussed last week. Still looking for an infielder. Do you think Jack is the guy for that? Former 5th-round draft pick, made it up to Double-A, but unfortunately for him, just hasn't had a good run of injury luck, and sometimes that's just the case, and why some players who are very talented end up here in the American Association and at the MLB Partner League level.
Yeah, I think Jack's past and what he did at the University of Michigan was one of the best defenders in the Big Ten. He can definitely swing it, and it's keeping him healthy, and with treatment and preventative stuff that our trainers can help him with, and anybody can get hurt at any time, and so we're hopeful that he stays healthy. And in fact, we did sign him twice this year. Once early on, and then he got signed by the Texas Rangers, and spent really all of spring training in camp with the minor league squad. And then I think he made it a couple games in the regular season, and they just had too many infielders on that Double-A team, and so he was released. And we signed him about a week ago, and I think we're looking to give him every opportunity to be a everyday contributor to the team.
And for a player who's had some tough luck with injuries, Ken and Paul, how do you position them to get the best out of them in terms of practice, what they're doing before the game in terms of treatment with the trainers, and then also managing their role in the lineup and defensively on the field?
I think it honestly comes down to getting to know the kid early on in spring training and getting to know his personality, his makeup, his want, and trying to ask him questions to lead him to get to a point where you're only as hurt as your mind tells you to. You're only as hurt as much as the trainer and the doctor tell you you're hurt. If the doctor says you can play through this, then you play through it. If he says you can't, you can't. But a lot of times I know I had injuries all through my 18-year career that I played through just because I was afraid to lose my spot. And I want our players to have that same mentality, that they're going to lose their spot. But unfortunately, the way the game has gone, these kids are given the opportunity to be hurt, sit out for a month, and come back and still have their spot. Whereas Wags and I didn't have that luxury when we were coming up. They would just replace you and scoot you along. So I really want to try to see if I can ask him questions enough to get him into that mindset. And that's tricky to do. You know, you just can't tell him to be tough. You have to kind of lead them to be tough. You know, and some of our players have that. We do have players on our team that have that. But unfortunately, some of these guys have never learned it because they've been spoon-fed their whole freaking careers. So it's one of those things you got to teach them.
Has there been an instance over the course of the 2+ seasons that you've been here where you're able to get the most out of a player who was battling an injury? You don't have to name the player.
We've had numerous players that have played through injuries with us and we've had numerous players that have come up with a split nail and sat out for 2 weeks, you know, with a split nail. And you just can't say what you think. But, you know, like we said earlier, is this level is cutthroat. So while that guy's sitting there with a split nail for 2 weeks, we're actively looking for someone to replace him, unless he's an absolute integral part of our team. We're actively looking. If he's just a midline player on our team, we're actively going to replace him if he can't do it. And then when he comes back, his spot is gone. And that has to be made clear to him when we have the players. We've had both ends of it with the guys playing through some tough injuries and guys sitting out with some stuff that you're kind of going, come on. You know, Wags will come in and tell me, hey, so-and-so said he needs a day off. And I'll just tilt my head at Wags and go, come on. See, Wags is laughing because he knows it's true.
There's guys he's got to find, like we've got to find. There's guys in this game that you have to pat on the back, and there's guys in this game you got to kick in the ass. It's our job, or Huck's job, and my job, and Tom's job, to find out what type of player these are and how to address them and where to push their buttons. We're gonna push the buttons. We're gonna keep doing it. But again, like you said, this is cutthroat. This is it. You know, people complain about the guys not getting a hit or not getting a strikeout here or there, and people will watch it. But there's 30 teams in baseball that didn't want these kids. These kids are on their last. They're on their last rope. Like Huck said, this is cutthroat. And I'm not saying anything against this, so don't take this negative. But if they don't make this team, or they feel they got a cut nail and they can't pitch or they can't play, it's not like we're going to send them down to the complex and they can work with some trainers down there, or they're in the big leagues and we're going to DL them, or we're going to send you down to AAA to get some rehab time in. You're going home. I mean, you're going home and you're going to work with me at the liquor store, or you're going to go to Fleet Farm and sell me some shells to go turkey hunting. I mean, people don't realize it when you watch these kids. These kids are giving everything they can. And it's my job, Huck's job, and Tom's job to get it out of them and to let them know. A lot of these kids, like we said, or like Huck just said, they're pampered. They're rolling through the system. They've been going to travel ball. Their parents have been paying for hotels and meals. Then they get drafted, and then everything's been going good. This is their first bump. And if they don't really realize it, this bump could turn into the bottom of the hill that you can't climb up.
But in the same breath, if a kid has a legit injury, then we recognize that. We recognize that. If he has a legit injury, you know, we've overused the guy and he comes up and says, I'm tired. When we understand that. We're not dumb. We understand that part of it. But like a little thing where you, like I said, like a split nail, or the catcher saying my thumb hurts a little bit. Well, my thumb still hurts and I haven't played in 20 years. So live with it.
All that to say, very excited to see Jack Blomgren come and play here. And what you guys are providing is great, but the hope is that he can have a healthy and really strong season here and get the most out of him. And the position players, there's a lot of new position players here, so you two guys are going to have to learn some new players, and that's what's really exciting about this level. And then we've got 2 new arms that the DockHounds have signed as well. Benjamin Arias, right-handed pitcher from the St. Louis Cardinals organization out of the Dominican Republic, and Rodrigo Benoit. He's pitched in the American Association, formerly with the Milwaukee Milkmen. Tom, was there something that stood out about those arms that you think could fit in well on Paul's staff?
Well, I think Benoit brings veteran presence. I think he's 32 years old. He lives here in Wisconsin, so it was an easy commute to get him here. And I think he's a 5 pitch guy. He's still low to mid 90s at his age. I think that'll help some of our younger guys in the pen, and I think it'll give Huck and Wag some stability, from a veteran presence as well. Guy's pitched in the league before. It's not his first rodeo. As for Arias, man, he looks like Superman. Very high velo, upper 90s, might have touched 100 in his day. I think he's only 24 years old, right? So, what people don't realize as well is some of these signings, they got released, but a kid that's 24 years old with that kind of makeup, he probably doesn't belong here, right? So it's our job to try to find some of those, give them an opportunity to succeed so they can get back into affiliate ball. And my guess is he might be one of the first to go, just because of his age and his ability. So I'm excited for both of them. I think our staff as a whole is probably better than it's been, since we started, from starters to middle guys to bullpens. I know we talked in the past about the Alan Carters and the Brody Rodnings coming back. I mean, when you can get those guys back that have played, in here a year or two and had really high success, I think the expectation just builds every time you sign a guy like that because you can count on him, and we don't have to figure them out, right? I mean, some of this conversation has been about figuring out the new players, the ones that are coming back from either last year or the year before. We know them and we know what drives them. We know how success will come putting them in the right role. So, I'm really excited about our pitchers.
Paul, I'm sure you feel that same sentiment.
Yeah. I like the new guys. The one guy that intrigues me is that second. I think he's he's about 6'6". I think he's about 6'6", 200 and some pounds, and he's touching high velos. I mean, we just watched a video. There's just little mechanical things that me and Tom watched him. I think this is the same guy, right, Tom?
Yeah.
We watched him, and he goes, "What do you think?" And I broke it down a little bit, and it was exactly what he said. Or Tom goes, "Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking." And there's so much. And I think the problem with baseball, not necessarily a problem, the situation that Major League Baseball has created is back when me and Huck played, this kid would have the opportunity to go work at the complex or work with somebody else. I don't think the organizations first have the time, the patience, or the money, the economical situation to take care of these kids. You come into an organization, you have to produce. You may have high upside, but there's just no place for them to go. And the development stage is just hindered. Like back in the day, you'd set a guy, he'd spend 2 years in A ball, in the South Atlantic League. This kid would say, man, he was there. He's gone to Augusta. He's been there again. He's going back there again because he's trying to figure it out. That doesn't happen anymore. And these kids still have a lot in the tank, especially at a young age. They can develop. They don't get the coaching. They don't get the opportunity, and they just don't get the reps. You need reps to succeed. You need reps in hitting. You need reps in catching, and you need reps in hitting and throwing. You need repetition. You need practice. That's how you get better. And it's just not afforded right now in the MLB situation. So our partner league, the DockHounds, the American Association, all the other independent leagues are giving them the opportunity. And I'm really intrigued by this big kid because a couple tweaks here and there, like Tom said, he could be the first to go because he's got so much in the tank.
Yeah, and to piggyback Paul there, the way the system works is this kid is obviously from the Dominican Republic and signed at 16. So when you see these kids come out, they come out of their 6-year contract, their initial 6-year contract with an organization at 22 years old. And they may only have A-ball experience, like Wags is saying, and organizations don't sign A-ball players on free agent signings. They just don't, because they already have their own kids at the A-ball level that are the same age, so they hold no value. So the only way that as a young Latin player at signing at 16 that you get a chance after your first 6 years is if you've zoomed through the system and gotten some experience at double or triple A, to where another organization will go, okay, we have some data at double and triple A that we can go off of. But if you're just an A-ball player and never had the opportunity to get to the upper levels at a young age, you look at a college player comes out at 22 years old now, 21, 22. If he has the same amount of time, he's 26, 27. And by that time, you should be in double or triple A or else you're out of the game. So they have the opportunity to re-sign, and because they got a little bit of a resume, so to speak, for organizations to build off of. Whereas these young Latin kids, they sign at 16 and they're done at 22. And like Wag said, they still have some in the tank. And the hang up is us being able to have the ability to get visas to get these kids over here.
That's the best part about the MLB partner leagues and the American Association is you have a wide variety of players on your roster and on the opposing rosters. So you could be facing a former major leaguer, you could be facing some players who have spent a couple seasons at AAA, but you yourself, you've never pitched at a higher level than high A. You're facing those guys, and if you do well against them, all of a sudden you may get that second crack in affiliate ball to chase their major league dreams. And that's the opportunity that young arms like Arias are getting here with the Lake Country DockHounds, and you all have the chance to support their journey by attending DockHound games and seeing them up close and personal here at DockHounds Ballpark. So super grateful that we get to give these kids this opportunity to play professionally here in a great area in Oconomowoc and Lake Country, Wisconsin. One more thing before we wrap this up. Thank you guys for giving your time, and thank you to all those DockHound fans who have tuned in this afternoon. Is we've got 1 month until opening day. I mentioned that earlier in the show. Is there anything that you guys are doing to prepare yourself for the season, to prepare the players that you've been in contact with for the season? What does this final month look like leading up to spring training, which starts in May, and then getting ready there before 4 preseason games, which is new for us, doing 4 preseason games, including 3 here, to get the best out of the team and make this an even better year as we've continued to improve on the field in each of our first 4 seasons?
Well, I think for me, it's just trying to get everybody comfortable, right? Whether it's getting them here on time, we pay to have these guys fly in, or they drive in, and we reimburse them for their fuel and hotels, and is welcome them. I often said, if you're comfortable, which means you're living in a good place, you're eating right, you're working out, we're going to get the most out of those players. So now there's probably a few other guys we're looking to pick up yet, but our core and our base is ready to go. So now it's kind of just transitioned over to when they get here, they get their physicals, and it's smooth and it's not time consuming, and making them comfortable. That's kind of what all our roles are once they show up, is figure them out and make them comfortable.
I think it's just same as what Tom said, but also that's our, I've kind of been doing it on my end where I'm touching base with players over the phone and talking to them and trying to get to know their personalities a little bit. And then when we get there, a lot of the players are showing up a week from Saturday. It's about the time when most of them are going to start showing up, about a week early. What we just being around the field and getting to know them and start building that foundation of trust and figuring out, in the 3 years that I've been here, each team has had a different personality, and trying to figure out what that team's personality is it's always fun to try to figure out. Like last year's team was completely different than the year before's team. What's this team going to look like? What kind of culture do they want to have in the clubhouse and on the bus and all that kind of stuff? So it's trying to figure that stuff out, because that drives what goes on the field. If they don't, like Tom said, if they're not comfortable and they don't like being around each other, then we're going to have huge problems. So we got to try to make it to where they actually do enjoy each other and accept each other.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think everybody has been through baseball. Everybody's been to spring trainings, whether it be in affiliated ball or their collegiate, whatever, they know how to prepare themselves. So if you're not ready to come and lace them up, as they say, and throw and play and show what you got, that's a whole different problem. Our job is in this short period of 2 weeks is to try to figure out who they are, what kind of people they are, get them comfortable, get them acclimated, get them used to the area and feel secure. Not, I'm going to say, besides a couple Wisconsin guys, nobody's been here before, except the guys that, have, played previously for the DockHounds. But it's a new environment. It's a new place. It's a new place to go eat, to go buy your groceries, to feel comfortable. You're going to be away from your family, your wife, your girlfriends, your children, your whatever you have. So that's where the 2 weeks come in. As far as field play, they should be ready to go. Now it's our job just to figure out who they are and get them happy and get them in a safe spot.
And this year's a little bit different because right out of the chute, 2 or 3 days in, we were playing games. Yeah. Whereas in the past, we've played those games at the end of spring training, which we still do against Winnipeg. But, we're playing right out of the chute this year, which we've never done before, which is going to put a lot of pressure on Paul, to come up with who can throw those games against Milwaukee that we play early on, and how much do we actually want to show Milwaukee of what we've got on our team because we play them so much. We don't want to show them everybody and give them a look at who they're going to be facing during the season. So it's just one of those, it's a balancing act.
2 games the week prior to the season on May 5th and 7th against the Milwaukee Milkmen, one in Franklin and then the second one here at DockHounds Ballpark. And then the following week, 2 games against the Winnipeg Goldeyes. They opened their season in Chicago. So this is what they do. They open the season on the road to allow the North and Canada to warm up a little bit. And we're happy to host them for 2 games and help us get ready for the season too. So it's a win-win in that aspect. Tom, Ken, Paul, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. This has been another DockHounds Insider. Hope we can see you at the ballpark tonight for our final DockHouse night here up in the Bear Wolf Management Club. We've got a huge blowout sale as well. So if you're looking for, I don't want to say cheap DockHounds gear, but some discounted DockHounds gear as we bring in the new stuff. There's no better time to do that than to come in tonight. Our store, it's open right now. We're always open 9 to 5. I just got to come bother us in the ticket office and we'll be happy to get you geared up for the new season, year 5 of DockHounds baseball. We look forward to seeing you at DockHounds Ballpark next month. It's a month away from opening day.